Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Allie.
And welcome back. It's been only 3 weeks. It feels like longer. It's been ages, but we're back. The NWSL is about to be back, and we're really excited. We got a lot to discuss here, Allie, now that we're back and rolling.
So we're doing a mini-series / season. So this is the WOSO Show's summer series. Bit of a throwback for some original WSL fans. And then we'll be back proper with season 9 in about August, September time.
Yeah, we usually do seasons starting in September. So we figured because there's usually tournaments in the summer, we'll create our own. So this is our summer series. There is a tournament going on, but it's not a women's soccer tournament. But before we get into everything, because today we're going to talk NWSL, there has been a lot of news that we haven't been able to cover, including officially, there's been a lot of breadcrumbing, if you will, but officially on Monday, it was announced Sam Kerr is going to Gotham. We're going to talk about that. We're going to preview all of the matchups coming up for this coming weekend. We are also going to talk WSL transfer window. There has been so much going on. But before we do, Allie, I think what's on every women's soccer fan's mind is, I think, twofold. A, why am I watching the World Cup? I told myself I wasn't going to watch the Men's World Cup, and somehow I'm invested in the World Cup.
That's 2 out of the 3 of us. That's 2. I still don't care. I'm still very much like, I've watched one England game, and that's it.
I unfortunately have been watching too much of it. But what it's doing is it's making me excited for next year, because in less than 365 days, the Women's World Cup will be happening in Brazil, and I am so excited, and I kind of can't believe it's already been 3 years since Australia.
Yeah, it's crazy. Time flies, man.
Time flies. Time flies when you're having fun. So we are going to do what we can. 3 years ago, if everybody remembers, you wonderful Women's Soccer Show fans got a GoFundMe together and sent us to Australia. And by that, I mean, you sent me to Australia because Allie had a brand new job and was working. So we are starting on our mission to send the Women's Soccer Show to Brazil for next summer. That's not asking you to start a GoFundMe. We are going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. Back to why I started bringing this up, Allie.
I was going to say.
The reason I'm bringing this up is because, listen, as invested in the Men's World Cup as I've gotten, I think we can all agree that this combined hosting of kind of North America, Canada, the U.S., and Mexico, it hasn't been great, right? It's not been wonderful for a lot of reasons. And when we look at who's hosting after Brazil for the Women's World Cup, guess what? Almost without a doubt, it's going to be a combined bid in 2031 between Costa Rica, Jamaica, Mexico, and the United States. How are we feeling about that based on what we've seen happen in the Men's World Cup here?
I think this is terrible. This is a terrible, terrible idea. And no offense, mostly because the US are involved, because I feel like the US have been the main issue with why 3 don't work, which is it seems that nobody can agree on, like, there was no basic rules that, like, for entry and everything else that all 3 of the nations agreed with, which meant that we had certain teams flying in the day of because
visas, let's just call it what it is, around staying in Mexico because the U.S. won't allow them to stay there for more than like 24 hours before and after the game. Yeah,
exactly. We've then talked about visa bonds, which meant that certain players' families couldn't come over. I'm thinking of Cape Verde. It was a 15 grand visa bond if their family wanted to come over, which is insane, and all sorts of things like that. And it also feels far too spread apart. And then you've got people complaining about the fact that Canada, having now gone through to the sixth round of 16, are at a disadvantage because they have to go play in the States because that's what's been.
If they won their group, they would have played in Vancouver.
Yeah, but it's a whole thing, and so I feel like it doesn't. And also, they are really big countries and big distances that, like, Australia was bad enough, like, and that was one country.
Don't say anything bad about Australia. I will come.
No,
over there.
I loved Australia, but like I went to France 2019, and that was bad enough. And again, that was one country.
And once again, I loved France, but I agree. I agree with what you're saying. I think there should be a cap. There should be a 2-country cap. You cannot have a
Yes.
combined bid between more than 2 countries. I like that it was Australia and New Zealand. It works because it's a lot for just New Zealand to host. And if we're already having it down there, have it as a combined. But it doesn't make sense to have 4 different nations hosting that are so far apart. For example, 2035, so not Brazil, not the next one, but the one after will be in the UK. I have less of an issue with that because it's smaller countries, it's a lot easier to get around, and just politically, it's a lot easier to navigate.
I was going to say, we've got also the infrastructure that, like, if Wales and Ireland and Scotland are getting in on this, and it's not just England, it's like, it takes an hour by flight to get from anywhere in the UK to Ireland. Wales is, Cardiff is a really easy place to get to. Edinburgh, Glasgow are easy places to get to. So that would be fine. But no, is the answer to that question.
I feel like it should just be in Mexico, to be honest. Like, if anybody's been watching the Men's World Cup, seeing the stadium, seeing the Azteca, seeing the stadium in Monterrey, like, it's absolutely stunning. They haven't gotten the credit they deserve for this World Cup. Should just be Mexico, but yeah, I guess. Anyways, moving it along. So we weren't going to talk about the World Cup, but it's coming. It's going to be in Brazil, which is a massive country, but it's going to be held in just the one country. It's going to be fantastic. We are starting on our mission to get ourselves there. And without further ado, because Allie's probably done talking international ball at this point, let's go domestic.
So we are going to kick it off with the NWSL, which is back this weekend. We saw a couple of fun friendlies, I will say. I think San Diego played Portland, and that game ended up being crazy. But we've got bigger news than fixtures. We've got bigger news than tables, because one of the worst kept secrets in women's football has been announced, and that is Sam Kerr will be going to Gotham.
As I said, they've been breadcrumbing us all along. The Athletic, I think, broke the news like a week or so ago, but it wasn't officially confirmed by the league or by the team until this week, until Monday. And it's official. Christy Mewis is already on Instagram, posting some stories, posting some reels. They're officially here. They're in the United States. We have so much to discuss here. First and foremost, we don't know all of the details of the move right now. I think everybody's first question when they learned Sam Kerr was going to Gotham was, how are they paying for this?
Yes.
We don't know everything. We do know that Gotham did acquire about $350,000 in allocation money last week when they traded defender Lily Reel to Boston Legacy FC. So that can be used through the end of 2027. We're going to assume part of that was used for Sam Kerr. The one thing we do know is that Sam Kerr doesn't qualify to use this new high impact player rule. So how it was paid for, that information will come.
However, somebody was like, oh my God, is Dove paying for it? Because obviously Dove are a huge sponsor. So it's like it's Dove paying for Sam Kerr to be in Gotham. It also made me laugh because when we talk about transfers, there was rumors that Pateus was considering Gotham. I'm like, they can't afford both. The way the cap works, you pick Kerr or you pick Pateus. You can't afford both.
I think those were rumors, and I have this like conspiracy theory that London City Lionesses were putting out weird rumors just to throw people off of the scent before they announced it. I think that has not been announced by the team, but it also has been confirmed by some credible sources, like Alexia to London City. Okay, so let's talk Sam Kerr. Let's talk this move. There's a lot of questions here. First and foremost, Allie, are you surprised? Do we like this for her? Do we like this for Gotham? Do we like this for the league?
No, and yes.
Okay, so you're not surprised. You don't like it for Sam Kerr. You don't like it for Gotham, but you like it for the NWSL. I think that you don't have to explain your last answer. Sam Kerr is the all-time leading goal scorer in the NWSL. She is one of the most prolific goal scorers and, let's just say, soccer players of our time. She has the most consecutive Golden Boots. She's the only player in NWSL history to win 3 consecutive Golden Boot awards. She has multiple MVP awards in the league. She had I believe still holds the single game scoring record. She became the first player to score 4 goals in one single game. She spent a lot of time in Chicago. I think that's where people most remember her for. But you know where she was before she was in Chicago?
Sky Blue, baby.
Sky Blue FC, which is now known as Gotham FC. So she returns to the former Sky Blue FC. Okay, let's talk about this because I differ in some of your answers. Am I surprised? You say no. I was a little surprised. I can't lie. Why weren't you surprised?
Because I knew she was going stateside. I knew she was going stateside because
I meant by Gotham. Are you surprised by the Gotham?
This is not, no. This is what I'm saying. So I knew she was going stateside. I knew that was 100% where they were going to go. Her choices were really West Coast, East Coast, and her whole family, her whole vibe is East Coast. So I knew it was going to be Gotham. Chicago might have been able to tempt her back, but really she's going to go from a Chelsea team that have won countless leagues in a row, bar last being, been in Champions League football. Is she really going to go to no offense Chicago, barely can get out of the bottom half of the table, if ever, versus a team that has won, the NWSL fairly recently. So that's why I was like, based on vibes alone, Gotham was the answer.
I see what you mean. I feel like based on vibes, we knew two things. Number one, the possibility of them going to not a major city was low. The possibility of them going to a non-contender was low to impossible. And you look at the top 8 teams, and that doesn't leave you with a lot. San Diego, West Coast, Utah, Portland, Washington, Gotham, Kansas City, North Carolina, Orlando. So I guess when you say it like that, it's not all that surprising. However, you have Esther Gonzalez, you have Jordan Dudley, you have a Jaden Shaw, you have a plethora.
This is why it's not good for Gotham.
Okay, well, hang on now. How is adding more talent not good for the team? If anything, that would be maybe not good for Sam Kerr, but maybe she doesn't want all of the minutes.
But that's why it's not good for God, because I feel it's going to cause discontent. Because you've already got a plethora of forwards, and then they suddenly bring in a very high profile, probably very expensive, let's be honest, player. That means that she's then going to be given minutes that maybe Esther Gonzalez thought were hers, or Jaden Shaw thought were hers, or Midge Purse thought were hers. Like there is so much, like there's only so many minutes you can make people happy. I feel like it's going to cause contention.
I wonder what's going to happen. She's not going to be eligible to take the field until July 14th, I believe it is. So we'll have to wait a little bit longer to actually see. Here's my theory. I don't think it's going to be an issue for anybody on Gotham other than Esther Gonzalez. Those are the two players who play the same position in very similar ways, and it's that number 9 position. And they're the two players who are going to be in the box waiting for crosses. They're both players who can play very well in the hold-up position if you need them to drop into more of a false 9 role. It's Esther Gonzalez or it's Sam Kerr. That's going to be your one question mark in every starting lineup. Is it Esther Gonzalez or is it Sam Kerr? And listen, this is not to knock Esther, who is an icon. I guess the question really is like, has her play dropped a little bit? She has scored 1 goal in this run of play this year. She scored a penalty kick, but she has scored 1 goal in the run of play so far in the first third of the season. And if you're Gotham FC, like, you're hanging on by a thread because of your defense, because your defense has been fantastic and they haven't let in a lot of goals. You've let in 5 goals in 11 games. You've only scored 12 in 11 games. You need production. And I think that Esther is now going to come in off the bench for the last 10, 15 minutes, if needed, as a second forward, as a second number 9, and Sam Kerr's going to get all the minutes, and they're going to say Sam Kerr produces more, period, at the end. Allie's not convinced.
I'm not, is the honest answer. I'm not, because I think Sam Kerr is still coming back from injury. I think we saw it with Chelsea. She is not the prolific goal scorer she once was. She needs time. She needs recovery, which she didn't get at. Like, we had her out for so long, and she's still not quite there yet. So I don't see it. I think she's there for 5 years, right? The contract is until 2030. I would say you write the rest of this season off. She'll come in, she'll do some bits, but she won't be the game changer Gotham want her to be this season. Now, 2026, 2020, so like 2027, 2028. Now you're talking now, maybe, but at the moment, no.
See, I disagree, but I think that I guess we're going to find out. I think they need her this season. She's had a long enough recovery. I think we got to see that she was getting back into her form at the end of the season, and I guess we'll find out. We'll find out, Allie. But we're not going to find out for another couple of weeks. All right, so let's do this. The league kicks back off Friday, July 3rd, so let's talk matchups, previews, everything like that. But first and foremost, for those who didn't watch, the Challenge Cup was played on the 26th of July, as Allie scoffs. Gotham FC, speaking of.
I'm not scoffing. I'm just laughing because I realised that very much so that sarcasm does not transfer well on socials, and a good friend of yours pissed off a lot of people.
What happened? What'd you do?
So me? Wasn't me. She put on Twitter something like, forget Europe. Everybody wants to play in a Challenge Cup.
That's hilarious.
And the Europeans took it seriously.
That's hilarious.
Somebody put Gotham wins the first silverware of the season, albeit the least prestigious. And then she put, least prestigious? The Challenge Cup is women's soccer. Europe wishes they had this.
That's so funny.
I found it hilarious because I'm also like, because I was like, hey, you were not around for the majesty that was the Arnold Clark Cup, so don't you come.
What is more prestigious, the Challenge Cup or the Arnold Clark Cup? It's not worth even debating. I'd rather win that than anything else in this world.
To be fair, the equivalent is the Subway Cup.
Maybe it's She Believes. So the Challenge Cup, the most prestigious cup in the world that we could ever possibly win. Challenge Cup was played in Columbus, Ohio. Kind of a fun fact, it was the first ever professional club women's soccer game played in Ohio. Gotham beat Kansas City 2-0. Just speaking of Gotham FC, this was their third time playing in the Challenge Cup. It was their first time winning. For those who don't remember, the Challenge Cup was initially a COVID tournament, and then it was a preseason tournament. I had forgotten that part, Allie. I blacked that part out.
Yes, it was. Because it wasn't even a tournament. Wasn't it just a game between the first and second, or the Shield winners and the...
No, that's what it is now. It's currently a game between the Shield winners and the championship winners. I think... So it started out in 2020, it was COVID. Then in 21 and 22, it was a real tournament. It was the Challenge Cup tournament, like from 2020, but they played it preseason, which was a horrible idea. And then in 2023, they tried to make it kind of like the Continental Cup and run it concurrently with the regular season, and that was terrible. And then finally in 2024, we got what it is now, which is it's the Shield winners against the championship winners. And Gotham just won it for the first time. So real quick while we're on Gotham, wanted to say that. Congratulations to Gotham.
Also, again, if you like sarcastic social media like I do, Gotham's response to winning was hilarious, which was teams already knocked out, and it was all the teams that have been knocked out of the World Cup, and then they put Kansas City in.
That's so funny.
I was like, all right, I'm here for the sarcastic Gotham admin. I'm here for it.
So what we've learned is that Allie doesn't care about the Challenge Cup, doesn't watch it, but absolutely loves the social media that comes out.
I do. I am far too perpetually online, and if you've got a good sarcastic tweet about any sort of football, hit me up because I love it. Okay, so because we took that break, we're going to give you a really quick roundup about things that you may have missed that happened within the NWSL during the month of June. Now, the biggest thing and the biggest changes is what's been going on at Angel City. So Sarah's going to hit us up about what happened there.
It was a day for Angel City fans. Mid-June. I don't remember if it was the 17th or the 19th. Either way, it just started going down. Angel City fans went through it because on the exact same day, they announced two big things. Number one, they announced that they had parted ways with head coach Alexander Strauss and their assistant coach, pardon my pronunciation, Leaf Gunnar Smerud steps in as interim head coach. Now, while that was dropped, it was also announced that they traded away their young and rising star, Kennedy Fuller, and a 2026 international spot to BAACckk. In return, Angel City received $500,000 in intra-league transfer funds and $20,000 in allocation funds. Now, you see that and you think, okay, well, obviously they made this trade for a reason. What are they going to turn this money around for? But we didn't get that news on that day. So Angel City fans were certainly going through it, and it did kind of seem like, what is this front office doing and why can't they get it together? San Diego and Angel City came in at the same time, and you look at the success that San Diego has had, and Angel City keep hitting this kind of like ceiling where they'll build, and it looks like they're going to break through their previous ceiling and finally become a top contender, and then everything will just fall apart and they'll restart. And this has happened like 3 or 4 times now, and this is like the 4th iteration of it. So I was feeling for LA fans in this moment. However, things turned around a few days later. They signed Allie Sentnor via trade with Kansas City Current in exchange for $850,000 in interleague transfer funds. Curious where they're going to put that towards next. For a moment when this all broke, I was sitting there like, I can't believe Angel City are doing this again. Like, how are you wiping the slate clean again mid-season? And then they signed Allie Sentnor, and I think it was a great move for Allie Sentnor, and I think it was a great move for Los Angeles. And I want to see how this pans out. You have a lot of money to spend. You can go get somebody else big and see what happens. And I agree. It wasn't working with the head coaching that was going on. It wasn't working.
No, they had a great start to the season, and then the drop off was something stupid.
Neither of us are proponents of firing head coaches, period, at the end, but we're certainly not proponents, I feel like, of firing them mid-season. Like, ride it out, see what happens. You're doing nobody any favors by putting in an interim head coach mid-season. In this specific case, though, I think I agree that it was the right decision.
So we have also more transfer news, and we will be doing some more thing. But Houston have made big moves with a forward called Miliana Ivanovic, who has signed from Malmo, which is a Swedish club. Big moves for Houston, needing that to kick on, because we've talked about their front line.
Big news, maybe not. Necessary? Absolutely. Houston was decimated by injuries, in my opinion, to their front line. This is a team that I was pretty high on from the start, and everything has kind of just plummeted since. It's been kind of tough. We'll talk about this when we preview the games, but I mean, Houston started the season with 3 wins in their first 4 games. They've won 1 game since then. It went downhill and it went down really quickly, but they have a really young core, and I think that they needed more forwards so that, quite frankly, they didn't run their rookies into the ground, and they just needed more production because they had so many injuries. So it's a necessary move. That's what I'd call it.
Absolutely. And then this is the one that confused me, but it kind of made sense. But Lily Real has gone from Gotham to Boston Legacy in exchange for $350,000 in allocation money and $50,000 in interleague fee. Did we see this coming? Because I didn't see this coming.
Totally, we saw this coming. She's not getting any minutes. Guru Wrighton's taking all of her minutes. So she wants to play, and Boston could use a defender, and a good one at that. Honestly, Gotham are just so stacked. I think Lily Real is a fantastic player, a great defender. She's a young talent that is ready to be on the field, and it wasn't doing her any justice to sit on the bench at Gotham. And I think this is a great move for player, for both clubs, because obviously, as we mentioned this earlier, Gotham then took some of that money, we believe, and turned it around into Sam Kerr's deal. So I think it was a good move all around for everybody. Gotham FC fans are going to miss her because she's great, but she wasn't getting the minutes that she deserves.
So that is the transfer roundup we've got going on there. There is also some updates in terms of the rules at the NWSL.
Yeah, I want to know what you think about these, Allie. It's not a big deal, but I feel like you always have big feelings about rules. So let's see how this goes.
I love a rule. Go on.
So this is, I think, going to come as a surprise to nobody. These are just going to be 2 rules that kind of mirror what we're seeing on the international stage in both the men's and the women's side. And I think we can expect these rules. I think they're being implemented in the Men's World Cup. I think we can expect them next year in Brazil in the Women's World Cup. So
not hydration breaks, is it?
No. They did update their hydration break policy, but no, listen, everybody, you don't even need to read that. They basically just updated the protocol about how hot it has to be to then effectively say, now we can have hydration breaks, which is what it should be in the World Cup. That's not what we're here to talk about. Okay, first and foremost, we have 2 new rules that are being implemented for the second 2/3 of the season. First and foremost, if a play is stopped for a potential injury and a player remains on the ground, requiring medical personnel to enter the field of play, that player must be required to leave the field for a 1-minute treatment period. Previously, you could just step off. Like the rule previously or historically has just been if the medics come onto the field, you have to come off of the field. But as soon as play starts, you just re-enter immediately. Now there's a 1-minute period that you have to stay off of the field. This is obviously a rule to kind of like mitigate players. I honestly, I'm just going to say it. To keep diving out of the women's game. We're gonna make sure people don't stay on the ground, and this is all to stop time wasting, not diving, time wasting.
No, I like it. I do like it because I think I want to say it was Enna, which is a men's example. I want to say it was Enna Valencia who literally got stretchered off, and then his team scored, and he ran back onto the pitch.
You know that happened in a Brazil U.S. Women's National Team game. That happened once. I've referenced it on the pod. I need to find the video. I don't remember if it was a World Cup game or the Olympics or some kind of qualifiers. I don't remember, but it couldn't have been qualifiers because they're CONMEBOL. But it was the dying minutes. The U.S. were trying to score. A Brazil player was laying in agony on the field, like right at the end line, and the U.S. players were trying to just like push her over the end line to get her off the field. They got the stretcher out. They stretchered her off. The second the stretcher crossed over the end line, she literally hopped off the stretcher and ran back out on the field.
So I'm all for it. I'm very much all for it.
All right, the second rule is also just to stop time wasting. It's a time substitution rule, so players now have 10 seconds to leave the field. If they fail to do so, the substitute may not enter until the first stoppage in play following a 1-minute delay period. So if you don't get off the field in 10 seconds, you have to wait 1 minute, and then the first stoppage in play after that, your sub can re-enter. Essentially, you have to play a player down until the ball goes out of bounds again.
Because so we have a rule, I don't know if it's a universal rule, but which is that you have to leave if you're being subbed off by the nearest side. And the amount of players that decide they're going to come off towards the bench, even if they are the opposite side of the field, and it annoys me to no end. So again, I'm all for this rule.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. All right. I love that we both are in agreement about this. We don't usually...
I was going to say, it very rarely happens.
It rarely happens, and it rarely happens that the NWSL makes a rule that we both are like, this is a great idea.
It made sense, which never happens. I was like, this is a rule that makes sense.
We love it. All right, without further ado, Allie, let's get into it, because the NWSL is kicking back off this weekend. Everybody is excited, and we've got a lot of matchups. So which ones... if you're looking at the weekend schedule, have you highlighted, have you circled that you are most excited for, and why?
Okay, so uber excited, weirdly, for Boston v Bay.
Oh, me too. Tell me why.
It's because it's a big one for both of them. Like Boston, this new team, they're coming in. They've not hit the road as well as Denver have, but they have, been getting there. And also, Bay are always one of life's great mysteries. For me, I never know which one we're going to get. I don't know if it's going to be someone amazing or if it's going to be somewhat terrible. And I love how Boston plays, and I want to see how they play up against Bay. So that for me is a big must-watch check mark.
I agree. I love that you picked that one. Anything else?
Denver KC.
We are so one mind today, Allie.
What's happened?
What's going on?
But no, again, Denver have been, they had a bit of a shaky start, but then they've come out running. They've signed really well. They're due to get a couple of big players, and KC have had the opposite problem. They've gone from being like super contenders last season, like you said, we saw them win the Shield, and then now it's like, are they even going to make playoffs? So again, it's always, I love a dark horse and I love an underdog, and I'm excited for that one. So those are my two big ones, I think.
I agree. I feel like despite them being, I guess they're not all that far from each other in the table. I mean, Kansas City's in 6th place with 21 points. Denver's in 9th place with 15 points. Kansas City has played one more game than Denver, though, so Denver have a game in hand on them. So I guess they're not too far in the table, but you look at this game and you don't necessarily think they might be evenly matched, but I think that they are. I think Kansas City's on the up, but I also think Denver's on the up. I feel like what you mentioned is really key, that Denver had the most away games in the first third of the season than any other team. They're going to be home so much in these back 2/3 games of the NWSL. And as we've mentioned, they get Lindsay Heaps back. We don't know when she will be able to play. We don't have a debut date. They might be keeping that close to the vest. I don't assume it could be the first game, but like maybe it could. I don't know. Okay, game for me, Allie. I can't believe you didn't mention it.
Go on.
I personally am excited for Spirit Houston. Not because I think it's going to be a great game, because I think Houston have been down and out.
What a great selling point that is.
Listen, we're not being paid to sell people on this. People are going to, people are going to agree with that. And that's the selling point. Houston, as we already mentioned, like they started the season strong, but it's been tough since then. Washington are rolling, right? They're in 4th place, 21 points, 11 games. They're equal on points with Gotham and Kansas City, but they have a game in hand on Kansas City. They're just really fun to watch. I would argue that they've been one of my favorite teams in terms of how they play soccer to watch this year in the NWSL. So I will always be excited to turn a game on with them in it. Also, kind of similar vibe, Angel City, Orlando. We just talked about how many question marks Angel City now have going into the second third of the season. And I want to see how it unfolds. I want to see how they look. I want to see what their vibe is. I want to see what changes to the lineup, what changes to the formation that they're playing. I want to see like the new Angel City era that we're embarking on. And I mean, Orlando's been so up and down that I don't know which Orlando we might get coming out. So you never know. Could be a game, right?
Oh yeah, it could definitely be a game. Anything can happen. Isn't that why we love the NWSL?
Oh, I know what I was going to say. You did miss a game.
What did I miss?
San Diego Gotham.
Oh, yeah, I suppose so.
I suppose so. What are you talking about? San Diego's in first place right now. 13 games played, 25 points. Gotham have 2 games in hand, and they're 4 points behind San Diego. Okay? Like, this is a battle of the heavyweights right now. Like, arguably 2 of the best teams in the league this year. Depending on how the playoffs shake out, we could see these 2 in the final. Both of them could potentially win the league. Like, this is a great game to kick off in the first weekend. And I want to briefly spend a moment on Gotham, Allie, because I was digging a little into their schedule. And I want to ask you if you think they might not be as good as their record indicates when you hear this.
Go for it.
Okay. Gotham FC, they're unbeaten in the last 6 league games before June break. They're 5 wins and 1 draw. But you look at their schedule. Their record overall, 6 wins, 2 losses, 3 draws. They lost to Denver and Kansas City. Those are their 2 losses. They drew with North Carolina, Orlando, and Boston. They beat Boston, Bay, Chicago, Racing, Seattle, and Houston. There are hardly any top 5 teams in all of that. So teams they haven't faced yet. San Diego, who are currently in first place. Utah, who are currently in second place. Portland, who are currently in third place. Washington, who are currently in 4th place, which are all of the 4 teams that are, guess what, sitting right above them in the table. They also haven't played Angel City, but Angel City are sitting below them in the table. And you look at their schedule to start this year, or to start this second, I keep saying this year because this break is throwing me off, but to start this second 2/3 of the season, they're playing San Diego, Utah, Washington, then Seattle, put that on the side, and Portland. So 4 out of their first 5 games to kick this for July. For July, 4 out of their 5 games are going to be against the 4 teams that are sitting above them in the table. So we're going to know if they're the real deal by the end of July. Do you think that they are? How do you think they'll come out of this?
I think it's going to depend on how fit certain players are. I don't see it ending well for some of the games. I'm still not convinced by Utah. I know with their position and everything else, I'm still not 100% convinced by Utah. San Diego and Portland will be a test for them, as will Washington. So, yeah, I think we're going to see a few more losses on that board.
I don't really understand why people aren't convinced by Utah. I'm convinced by Utah, and I know I'm in the minority, and you're in the majority. Like, most people feel how you feel. They're not convinced yet. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It's because we've just seen them so inconsistent over the last few years that we're sort of like, cool, you're doing well now, but like we've seen this before, and then you plummet to the depths of hell again. So
Yeah, that's fair. Houston was a team that similarly had a great start, and everyone was kind of like, don't worry, Utah and Houston will fall off. And Houston did, and Utah haven't. And I guess that question mark around Utah still hasn't left them. Utah's facing Chicago. I don't have much else to say about that. Poor Chicago. Notably in transfer news for the NWSL, guess which team we didn't talk about?
Chicago!
And that's a problem. The only other game or games that we haven't mentioned are North Carolina's taking on Seattle. Listen, North Carolina's a great team. I think they're flying under the radar this season. Can they continue the momentum? Is really only the only question. And then Portland versus Racing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna circle that one, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I got nothing to say about either of them. They'll be fun, sure.
Have you noticed that I officially gave up on Racing being my dark horse?
You have. I was like, you've finally seen sense. Well done.
Oh, all right. We did it, Allie. We ripped through it. The NWSL is back, everybody. Friday, it's kicking off. The first game is Spirit Dash. We're back, baby. You don't have to watch the World Cup anymore. The NWSL is here. It's back to comfort you. Let's go around the world. Around the world, around the world.
Ish. So because there are so many leagues not playing at the moment, I thought I would take this opportunity to explain to you wonderful listeners how the UEFA qualification is going to work. Now we know what the system is. So for anybody who's not been paying attention, Nations League happened and we've got our 4 automatic qualifiers from that. That is France, Germany, Spain and Denmark. They won their groups outright. They are through. They will be going to Brazil in 2027. The rest have to go through the playoff system, and the way they've done it is they have seeded the top 2 teams or top second team from League A, and then they have the unseeded teams from the rest of the league. So we already know who's playing who in the first game. So in path 1, you have got Lithuania versus Sweden, Romania versus Norway, Greece will take on England, Croatia will take on Iceland, Kazakhstan will take on the Republic of Ireland, Kosovo will be taking on Austria, Hungary will be taking on the Netherlands, and Belarus will be taking on Italy. That is path 1. Then path 2 is your lower ranked teams. So that will be Albania versus Wales, Turkey versus Slovenia, Slovakia versus Ukraine, Israel versus Switzerland, Belgium versus Poland, Czech Republic versus Scotland, Northern Ireland versus Portugal, and Finland versus Serbia. They each have to play each other twice. Winners on aggregate will go to the next round. And this is where it gets tricky. The next round again has been set up so the winners of each tie will play. They've been paired up and they will play each other twice. And this is where the tricky part comes in. There will be 8 sets of opponents, 16 games in total. The top 7, so that's the best aggregate out of those, will go automatically qualify for the final 7 spots for the UEFA's allocation for the World Cup. The 8th winner will then go into the intercontinental playoff. So that's the one where all of the third place teams play each other from all around the globe. So that's how that all works. And it's going to kick off from October and the final games will be in December.
This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations More time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at Accenture.com/Spotify.
All right, let's talk transfer window, because guess what? It's transfer time in Europe. I feel like I've been watching Love Island, and that just sounded like Love Island. All right, and Allie has been collecting news, collecting data, scrolling the online space, and has come to us with some things to discuss. Some of these we know about, and some of these are surprising. So let's chat important transfer news coming out of Europe, Allie.
Okay, so the big one, and it's not the one you think, but the big one for me, because I want to know what your thoughts are, which is Hansen to Spurs. What are Villa thinking? Because she was their top scorer. She got into so many top 11s based on her performance. What are Villa thinking letting her go to an interleague rival?
I think that we've been asking that question of Villa for the last 4 years. What in the world have Villa been thinking this entire time? I've given up on Aston Villa because fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, oh, shame on me. Shame on me, shame on me. Yeah, I think I was fooled by them at least 4 or 5 times until I finally gave up on them. I have no idea, Allie. I'm kind of hoping that we will see the larger picture of why they did this. I hope it's not money. I hope it's not like, I don't know the details of if her contract was up. It was negotiation. She wanted more money. They didn't have more money. I don't know. Maybe you do, but I hope that's not it. But I can't find any other rational explanation as to why they would do this. She has been fantastic for them. We spoke all year about what a star she was, how much she elevated them. I think Christy Hansen is one of the most underrated players in the WSL. I thought that of her when she played at United. I think that of her currently. And I think that Spurs just got away with a steal.
They absolutely did. And I know that that Villa fans out there are asking the same question of what is their club thinking, because Lord knows.
I agree with you. I think this is it's not the biggest headline news because it's not the biggest star, but this could very well be one of the more impactful transfers come the fall and the next year of the WSL, the next season.
We mentioned it before we went on break, but of course, Katie McCabe to Chelsea is still causing all sorts of drama, still so much hurt and pain.
Absolutely horrific. You're just bringing it up to make me cry. I still don't remember if I saw a photo of her in a Chelsea shirt. I think my brain won't let me. I think of that and I'm like, no, that was AI. We haven't seen the official photo, and then I'm like, no, I think we have. Have we?
Yeah, I sent you it.
You sent it to me. Yeah. Okay. And I was like, is this AI?
And then to make you cry even more, Beth Mead is a Manchester City player.
Can you believe? I mean, you can because of her partner, but like what?
Yeah, it is crazy. It makes sense. I believe that Manchester United were in the offing but wouldn't meet her price tag, and Manchester City did. So it makes sense.
Ugh. The rich get richer. I mean, Manchester City just won the WSL. I fear for Arsenal that we are barreling very quickly towards what feels more of a rebuild, because there hasn't been enough youth brought in my opinion, to fill the slots of all of this talent that has been around Arsenal, that have been mainstays at Arsenal and are leaving. And I am scared. And that's what this Beth Mead to City brings up for me. City are just the rich get richer. I have nothing to say about that other than that. How do you feel?
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. I do think it's a weird move for her because, like, she's talked about like not getting enough minutes at Arsenal, and I'm like, cool. Do you really think you're going to get more minutes at City? Because I don't think you are. Because that is like the one position they've really. She's a great backup. Don't get me wrong. She's a great squad player, and she'll be great because they've got Champions League this year. You know, it for cup competitions, everything else. But do you think you're getting in over Lauren Hemp? You think you're getting in over other players in that position? I don't think you are. You are going to be a fantastic squad player, but to number one pick, you will not be.
I agree. Maybe it came down to a decision of price tag and playing time, like less money and playing time, more money, less playing time. And that's a tough decision.
Yeah.
And for a player that's been around for as long as Beth Mead has, she like we're at the point in women's soccer where you have to consider the fact that for the most of definitely the first half, but for most of these players, they haven't really been profitable in their playing careers. Like, they're only starting to make money now, even though they've been around the league and been mainstays of the league and players that should have been raking it in, but they're just starting to make money now. So whatever, go get your money. I fully support it.
No, 100%. Now, this one, oh lordy, right. Okay, so was a very unsurprising one. We kind of saw it coming. It'd been hinted, we knew. So, Mary Earps to London City Lionesses. We saw that coming, and girl, I'm going to be real honest, and if you listen to this, then this thing, you are not popular in England. Let's be real. You are not popular after everything that happened with your book and everything you've done since, let's be honest, throwing a hissy fit by not playing in the Euros. You are not popular in the UK.
I think people forgave her for the Euros. It was the book that really did it in.
Oh, the book's really done it in. However, why is it then you then do your press for coming back to England and basically be like, people forgot who I was, so I'm coming back to show you who I am. No, girl, no.
That's Hope Solo-esque.
It really was. It was Hope Solo without the charm, I'm not going to lie.
What charm? What are you talking about? Hope Solo doesn't have charm. You think that she's pretty and you think she's a great goalkeeper, and I respect both of those opinions, but there's no charm involved.
It was giving me Ashlyn Harris vibes more than anything, except for
Don't do
Mary's
that.
one.
Mary Earps has had a great international career.
Yeah, except for Mary's one things. But I was like, you're coming back into a place where you are not popular. You know you're not popular. You know this when you came back with PSG and you played Manchester United and you got booed thoroughly. You got booed when you collected your legacy shirt at the England game. You know this. Coming back with this big who I is attitude is not going to do you very well, and it will be very interesting to see how she's received. Also, I don't think she's going to get first team play at London City because they've just re-signed their goalkeeper that played every single minute last season.
That's kind of crazy. I don't think Mary Earps is the kind of player who would go to London City and sit on the bench. I think if she's made one thing clear, so I don't think that's the case. She got booed at Wembley in front of England fans.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
England, yeah, they did, because they were like, no.
All things considered, in terms of the soccer of it all, for London City, first and foremost, she will be starting. Sorry, Allie. She will be starting. It will be shocking if she's not. She's going to have some shockers in a bad way to lose her starting role. She's 33 years old. She's still very young because goalkeepers hit their peak much later than field players. So you could argue she's in her peak right now. This is a fantastic move when we're talking about looking to build a starting lineup that can rival the teams at the top. And you're bringing in Mary Earps. You're probably bringing in Alexia Putellas, even though that's not obviously officially confirmed. And those are players that will impact games, period, the end. And at the end of the day, Emma Hayes said it best. Like, you need players who have played in the top competition. And she has. And that's experience that she will bring to the team. And, it's a team, actually, that weirdly has a ton of experience. So maybe they don't need that. But it's a good move for London City. Again, they just continue to add talent. I'm curious how it's going to continue to pan out because they are getting players kind of similar to how the NWSL are starting to get players, where it's like they're in the prime of their career, but they're on the back end of it.
So West Ham have made 4 signings so far.
Okay,
this window. Katie Zellum.
Great.
Constance Picard, who is a goalkeeper, French international.
I don't think I've seen her play. She's played. I'm looking at her now. She's not had a ton of caps internationally. She's been playing in the French league for a while, and yes. I haven't really seen her play.
Cordina from your Arsenal.
That's right. You guys got Cordina.
And then Nadine Rezin, who's signed from Eintracht Frankfurt, who is the Swiss international defender who had a very good Euros for Switzerland. She looks like Russo. You'd know if you saw her.
So we have to go back to Codina. You texted me about this.
Yeah, and this is why I want your opinion, because this is why I say you always have opinions, because you say that West Ham always seem to want to rebuild. They never really put the, money where their mouth is, and, constant relegation battles. Would you say that these signings are showing a bit more intent?
Absolutely. I would. I think you had to replace a couple pieces. So obviously some of this is definitely necessity. I think there is a huge gap in the midfield now. Now that Kat Gorey won't be returning, and you certainly needed to replace that. But I think that they've went about this. They went about this really well. And signing Leia Codina was a smart move. She wasn't getting the minutes that she wanted at Arsenal. Obviously, she was at Barcelona before that. For those who have not followed her career, Spanish international. She's going to be a great addition. And now they have to keep signing, because we've talked about how this is the window they don't usually do good work in. They usually do good work in a January window. However, they didn't do good work in the January window this past year. And so you could argue that this was their January window work. They need to keep going. This is fantastic, and keep going.
Yay!
Are you happy?
Positive. Yes, I got something positive. Okay, and then my two wild ones, and then we can talk about speculation. With the ones is Zinsberger has gone to Dortmund, who, if you don't pay attention, that's where Alexandra Popp has gone, because that is her childhood club. They are a part-time team in a part-time league, and they are definitely building something.
Does Zinsberger have the same ties to Dortmund that Popp has? Because we talked about in a previous episode, obviously, Alexandra Popp. That's her childhood club. That's the club that she always went to go support the men's team. She envisioned herself putting on a Dortmund jersey in her professional career. And obviously, even though they're a part-time team, that she said, I'm going here because this has been my dream to wear this jersey in my professional career. And we were laughing about the idea of coming from my 9 to 5 to soccer practice, and there's Pop. I'm curious if Zinsberger has the same ties to Dortmund. Otherwise, I feel like they're scheming, and I love it.
I think they're scheming because she's Austrian, so she's not said
that's
that.
Right.
The
Oh my
team
god, I forgot she's Austrian.
Yeah, she's Austrian, so I don't know, but yeah. So I feel like Dortmund are scheming, and God bless them.
They're scheming, and God bless them. Honestly, I feel like that's the best way to say it.
And that's what I'm going with. And then my other one is the stalwart of all things WSL, Mel Lawley, has dropped down a division and has gone to the newly promoted Wolverhampton Wolves. And that is an Alexandra Popp esque move, because she has been a Wolves fan since she was little. They've popped out the pictures of her as a kid in a Wolves shirt. And she has come back home. So I think that's a great signing, bit of business for Wolves, and it's a great bit for Lawley.
Explain to the United States audience, because they won't know as well who Mel Lawley is.
How you don't know? So Melissa Lawley is ex-England player. She has played for pretty much. She's a bit like a Nikita Parris. She's played for pretty much every WSL club. But she is an absolute thing. I believe she was in the title-winning team of Manchester City. So she's been around, and so it's just a great movement for her to come back home and go play for Wolverhampton Wolves.
And Wolverhampton are in the championship right now.
Yes, they got promoted. So that's the ones what we know and have confirmed, and of course there are other ones, but now we want to play a little bit of speculation. The first one is, as if we don't already know, but where in the world is Mateus going to go?
She's going to London City at this point. If she's not going to London City, I'm going to be stunned beyond belief. What if? All right, let's put London City off the table. Let's have some fun. Let's start some rumors. Let's speculate. I have an idea. I have a club in my head that I'm like, if she's not going to London City, this is where she's going. Do you have one?
Well, I've heard rumors, but...
No, not... Okay, I guess, do the rumors too. I want to know what you think also, though.
So the rumors were Gotham, which obviously with Kerr going, that's a no. Boston was another one.
Sorry, Boston. You have to be more established to get a player like Alexia Putellas. It's just a fact. I was thinking LA.
LA would be a good one. PSG was keeping it in Europe, getting to live in Paris, because I still can't believe she's giving up Barcelona for Bromley. No offense to South London people, even though it's not London.
This is why I think LA. Okay, we'll see. It's got to happen soon. I think there's going to be an official announcement soon. There's got to be.
There's got to be. And speaking of official, but not really, and I had to bring this up because I was like, once is a mistake, twice is bad luck, 3 times is just stupid. Manchester City have given away that they've signed Niamh Charles, and the reason they've given it away is because they put it up on their website that you could buy her shirt.
That's so funny.
And that's what they did with Lohman, and they did it with one of their other players in January. So I believe it was Coffee. I think they did it with Coffee.
I think that there might be a miscommunication between whoever runs the marketing, the website, everything like that, and the front office. I think that there might be some kind of miscommunication. That's happened a few times. That's so funny.
So they did it twice with Lohman, they did it twice with Lohman, once with Coffee, and then they did it again with Niamh Charles. So Manchester City have signed Niamh Charles, it seems.
Who does Chelsea have left?
Oh, who knows? That's the question.
And of the people who are left, of the players left for Chelsea, how many were signed in the Emma Hayes era? Like, we really are entering the era where this is no longer the leftovers of Emma Hayes' team. So this next year will be interesting to see maybe if their play changes. Maybe their play was so tough to watch because it was a bit of an in-between. I don't know, but haven't heard anything big out of Chelsea in terms of signings, have we?
Apart from your favourite.
I forgot about that one. I forget about it every time, and then you keep reminding me.
I know, because I'm mean.
Well, we are happy to be back, and that was a lot, Allie. We got through a lot right there.
We did. There was a lot to discuss. A lot happened.
There was a lot happening, and I guess to sign it off for the first episode of what we're calling our women's soccer show summer series, tell people about what you're wearing, Allie.
I am wearing a US women's national shirt, and it has got my personal goat as a defender. It has got "We love her dearly." It has got Sauerbrunn on the back because at the time Portland Thorns were going through a messy thing, and I was not buying a Thorns jersey, so I decided to get a US national one, and I thought I would wear it as we were going to be talking a lot of American.
I'm honored. I am honored. Just like I wore that England shirt for you when they were in the World Cup final, despite your pleas for me to not. All right, that's it. We're back. And next week, we will talk more things, NWSL, and everything else that pops up in the women's soccer world, because women's soccer is back on the table. All right, and that's it for us here at the Women's Soccer Show. I've been Sarah.
And I've been Allie.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.